Welcome to episode 25 of Stories and Other Things Holy. This week is our second to last Lenten reflection. And as we did during Advent, we chose to make these episodes shorter, hopefully providing you and us more time for reflection, preparation, and participation in this season. In this week's story, Terry shares his own reflection about what he might say to Jesus if he encountered him on the way of the cross. I hope that this story will spur yours and my reflection further, and that reflection might propel us into greater action in service to life and to love. Thank you again for joining us for more Stories and Other Things Holy.
Stories and Other Things Holy. I sometimes fantasize sort of in the spirit of Ignatian spirituality, which asks us to use our imagination, put ourselves in scenes that Jesus was in, etc., and see what happens. So in this instance, I was imagining witnessing Jesus, carrying the cross, headed towards Golgotha, all those stations of the cross thing. And I asked myself, well, if I had a chance to say something to him, right at that, in the midst of all that, what might I say? And my answer, surprises me now. And the answer is in the form of a story, shocking, I know, but Stories and Other Things Holy. So anyway, that's where we got to start. My wife is deeply connected to Buddhism. I don't know if you're supposed to say Buddhist spirituality. I'm a little iffy on all of that. But Buddhism is really important to her and her consciousness and her soul. And so annually, I try to make it a point to do something with her sort of that reflects that interest, that world, etc. A bunch of years ago, we went to a 2-day workshop on loving kindness meditation, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And the woman that is not insignificantly responsible for developing that particular meditation, loving kindness, was leading the workshop. And so it was sort of a big deal, for Buddhist people, and I'm there by association. And so she goes over, loving kindness and what it is, meditation, there's 3 levels to it, etc. And she gets us to the point where she invites us to go and create our own loving kindness meditation. There's a lot of questions, like what's the rhythm, how long, what can go where? And she's answering them patiently. And then at some point, she's like, it just has to work for you. It's less about, rules, and this is Buddhism, so go with it where you need to go. So that gave me a little attitude, really? So I can go where I need to go? So she invites us all to go off and to compose our loving kindness meditation. So I go and I write this thing, which actually, as soon as I wrote it, I'm like, oh, it's like soul chiropractic. I love this. I could actually use this meditation quite frequently. And I'm sort of excited about it, but also, a lot of Buddhist retreats in the Midwest are held in former Catholic venues. So sure enough, we're in an old Catholic retreat center with a chapel, only all the accoutrements, Christian accoutrements have been removed, but I know that we're in a chapel. My meditation is very rooted in the Christian imagination. And here I am with my loving kindness meditation. So I'm a little hesitant. And then they ask, I show it to my wife. She's like, oh, I think she might, if people said, do you know him? She might have go I've never met the guy. And then the woman organizing it says, would anybody like to share their loving kindness meditation? So a couple of people do. And then I'm like, sure. So I say the following. May you know yourself as baptized. May you laugh and weep without constraint. May you receive and mediate grace like an aqueduct. And at the time of your death, may you be free to hurl yourself into the ambiguous, certain arms of love. And then there was this silence, you know what I'm saying? But I think it was sort of awkward silence, except for the woman who was teaching us. And could you repeat that? And I did. And then she said, it sounds like it came from a place of depth in you. And I said, it did. And she said, may it serve you for years to come. I don't want to brag or nothing. And I know I've said that phrase on a couple of these, so apparently I must like to brag. I don't want to brag or nothing, but I am pretty confident that I have repeated my loving kindness meditation as a result of the fruits of that retreat more than anybody else there. And if they beat me, that's fine. But I'm in the team picture. I say it all the time. And I usually say it in the direction of someone who I think is hurting. May you know yourself as baptized. Those of you who know me know how deeply my commitment to baptism is. May you know yourself as loved. May you laugh and weep without constraint, which is clearly such a deep affirmation of my sense of that God is present and active. May you receive and mediate grace like an aqueduct. It's like one of my life's work, like grace, come on. And then that last line, may you be free upon your death, the time of your death, may you be free to hurl you. I love the word hurl. It's not like step into, like, no, just throw yourself, baby. Hurl yourself into the ambiguous, certain arms of love. Which is it, ambiguous or certain? Like, it's both. That's the paradox. That's death and resurrection. That's the crucifixion and the reunion with God. So if I had a chance to encounter Jesus with his cross on the way to Golgotha, I think I'd just say, brother, may you know yourself as baptized. May you laugh and weep without constraint. May you receive and mediate grace like an aqueduct. And at the time of your death, may you be free to hurl yourself into the ambiguous, certain arms of love. Namaste. Stories and Other Things Holy.
I'm so thankful that you chose to join us for another episode of Stories and Other Things Holy. If you're new here, I encourage you to visit our website, storiesandotherthingsholy.com, where you can sign up for our weekly email newsletter and access the previous 24 episodes in our catalog. I cannot believe we're already on episode 25. It is such a privilege for Terry and I to bring these stories to life and these discussions to you through this medium. And we are so grateful for those of you that have already chosen to support or participate in this podcast in numerous different ways. Many of you share this podcast with friends, families, and loved ones through conversation, emails, or forwarding our videos and podcast episodes to loved ones. Some of you have signed up to help be intentional promoters of the podcast by more proactively looking for people to share the podcast with. And good news, we're working on some materials right now that we hope to get to you in the coming weeks to help with that process, in particular with organizing listening or watch parties for the episode that can be opportunities for faith sharing or theological reflection. Additionally, many of you have chosen to financially support the podcast, either through a one-time or a recurring monthly gift. Those monthly gifts come in the form of a membership through the platform Buy Me a Coffee. Those one-time gifts can come to us through that same platform or directly. If you want more information about any of the ways that you can be involved in the podcast, email me, Joshua, at connect@otherthingsholy.com. Regardless of how you participate, whether it's as a listener, as a sharer, a promoter, or a supporter, your presence, your participation, your contribution of self to this work is critical. Stories are meant to be shared, and we have so many more stories yet to share, and we'd love to hear yours. If you want to share with us, connect with us, or contribute in any way, again, email me at connect@otherthingsholy.com. I'm so grateful that you've chosen to be with us again, and I look forward to seeing you again next week for more stories and other things holy.